32 passengers were aboard this flight. The Airbus A320 was attempting to land in a storm with strong wind gusts, but when the aircraft touched down, the wind took it to one side and the wing scraped on the runway, which forced the pilot to abort the landing and again ascend. But while at first glance it seemed the weather was the chief cause, the investigation found the issues with the aircraft were deeper than that. Standard Airbus documentation did not describe how pilots should respond and should expect their plane to respond in such conditions. The Airbus computer also switched to ground mode as it descended to land, which limits the pilot's power as the flight computer takes over.
Exaggerated, that's what you see. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance, not the life I want to live. I want to take it all, standing tall, fear I weighed the person you are. In a sense, a feel of discontent, I'm finally facing it all.
After a malfunctioning fan started to disrupt a Cathay Pacific flight, the captain was forced to make an emergency landing, and the whole scary event was caught on camera by 25-year-old passenger Ethan Williams.
Okay, so we've just had an announcement. We've got an emergency landing. We don't know what's going on, but we've told we've got an emergency landing.
Williams started taking video on his cell phone during the scary rundown by flight attendants on what to do if they were forced to ditch in the sea. Flight CX-884 was heading from Hong Kong to Los Angeles when a cooling fan began to smoke. The pilot then turned to Alaska's islands to land at a remote military airport. Williams told ABC News, "We were getting told you had to take your shoes off and leave everything behind, and what we needed to do and where our nearest exits were going to be, and making sure we had our jackets on properly. Thankfully, none of the 18 crew members or 276 passengers were forced to use this emergency information as the Boeing 777-300ER landed safely on Shemya Island. The passengers didn't even deboard the plane. Instead..." Police storm flight for hoax threat. As with many forms of mass transportation these days, bomb threats are the #1 concern. That's why when a 25-year-old man allegedly made a bomb threat on a Sunwing flight that was headed to Panama from Toronto in 2014, it was taken absolutely seriously.
Heads down, hands up! 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 Heads down, hands up!
The dramatic footage of heavily armed police storming the flight was caught by another passenger on board, but the suspect's father said he was not at fault and had severe mental health issues, including anorexia, bulimia, and depression. He claimed his son had never received support for these issues. Ali allegedly said he wanted to bomb not just the plane but all of Canada. This was after he was handed a headset by the flight attendant, prompting him to say he hated Canada, the cigarettes were too expensive, and therefore he wanted to bomb it. The pilot turned the plane around 45 minutes into the flight, and Sunwing Flight 772 was escorted back to Toronto Pearson. When a pilot gets on the intercom and apologizes for this absolute mess, the last thing you want to find looking out your window is a crane seemingly air drying your aircraft's wings. The aircraft you're about to take off into the sky on. The pilot of this flight went on to say that their delay was due to mechanical problems, those problems being panels missing on the outside body of the airplane. Yeah, don't worry, the body of your aircraft was not intact only a few moments ago.
And do sincerely apologize for this absolute mess we're encountering this morning, or they had a...
Floating through the air, dark. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing.
The sky around the hilly region appears murky, and there's clearly some strong wind tearing at the aircraft. Find a flat ground so that rescue vehicles can come in, the man says. He places all responsibility on the pilot, telling him, "It all relies on your experience now." The pair find a piece of land in the water to force landing upon, and again he emphasizes how they're all relying on the captain. You don't want to cross paths with unruly flight attendants on your next flight, but neither do you want to run into unruly passengers. These can be equally scary and intimidating in an enclosed space that's set to take you hundreds of feet above the ground and away from emergency services. More than an hour after taking off from Minneapolis, 2 passengers had an in-flight meltdown on Delta Flight 2565 that was recorded by fellow passengers in this scary video caught on an airplane. It's 2009 when this giant Airbus A320-214 took off from New York City's LaGuardia Airport and flew right into an entire flock of Canadian geese. The big birds almost took out the giant bird in the sky. The collision caused the plane to lose engine power completely, and as this occurred over the George Washington Bridge, they were not near enough to an airport to land safely. Instead, pilots Sullenberger and Skiles were forced to do the unimaginable and land their plane on the Hudson River. 57-year-old Sully Sullenberger was the commanding pilot, having logged nearly 20,000 flight hours and having served as a fighter pilot in the US Air Force in 1980. He's also considered an aviation safety expert. When the plane struck the geese, the pilot saw nothing but big birds, and the crew and passengers heard the collision and saw flames strike up from the engines. Sully noted that both engines were down, and Skiles started running down the engine restart checklist. As the aircraft climbed a bit but then slowly began to descend, Mayday was radioed in, and Sully originally said they'd be turning back to LaGuardia, but after realizing he wouldn't be able to make it, he considered attempting landing at Teterboro Airport. Again, he realized they wouldn't make it there either, so he radioed to say, "We can't do it, we're gonna be in the Hudson." Passing only 900 feet over the George Washington Bridge, Sully told everyone on board to brace for impact, and the Coast Guard was told by air traffic controllers to clear the Hudson and get ready to assist with a grand rescue. This incident could have been disastrous. Instead, it ended with 155 passengers surviving, only some with minor injuries.